Hey everyone, it's Melissa here. I'm trying to get rid of this light for you. Um, Melissa here. I am the creator of Think Me First and Rock Your Vibe. So welcome to my channel. I'm glad you're all joining us this evening. Today, we're just going to talk about how therapy can benefit you. There's a lot of benefits to therapy, whether you realize that or not. So we're going to just talk about that a little bit and maybe debunk some of the myths that are out there, or maybe some of the fears that you may have about trying to find a therapist. So we're going to talk about that today. But first, if you are interested in finding where we are, I have a blog, Pinterest page, Facebook group. You can find us here on YouTube. And then I have a storefront for Rock Your Vibe Apparel. And you can find all that information in the description below. All the sites are there. And I do have a free course on how to be your best self if you want to sign up for that and take that as well. But most importantly, if you could hit the subscribe bar below, that would be greatly appreciated. That boosts us so that more people can see all the content that we have. If you can give me a thumbs up if you like this video, that would be awesome as well. And then hit that notification bell and you'll be notified every time we do upload a video here at WTF, also known as Wednesday Thought Forum. And we shoot it, they drop every Wednesday about 7 p.m.-ish because everything we do here is live and raw. So feel free to do that. One other thing is, if you could just watch this video through its entirety, that also boosts the algorithm for us to get our content out there more. Even if you don't want to watch it, if you can just let it run, that would be great. And, comment below. These are just some of the things that keep our videos going and get more exposure and things of that nature. But without further ado, let's get started with WTF, also known as Wednesday Thought Forum, episode number 76. All right, 76. I'm so happy. Okay, so again, we are going to talk about some of the benefits of a therapist. When I wrote this blog originally, it was 2 years ago, so this was pre-COVID. The National Alliance on Mental Health or Mental Illness said that approximately 1 in 5 adults in the U.S., that's 4.6 million people, actually experience a mental illness in a given year. And I think mental illness, they didn't specifically define it, but I'm thinking mental illness can be, and I like to say mental challenge, I don't want to say illness, but it can be anywhere from anxiety to autism to depression, so we could all experience one of these episodes at any time, maybe anger, anxiousness, so it can happen, and then sometimes it stays with people, others it does not. So, but just keep in mind that that's 1 in 5 adults that may experience some kind of mental challenge in a given year. And then approximately 1.25 in 1 in 25 adults in the US, and again, that's 11.2 million, actually experience a serious mental illness. Again, not defined, but I would say one of these are probably on longer term, prescribed with medication, things of that nature. And, that substantially interferes or limits, with your major life activities. So that means people have probably most likely had a mental illness of some sort in their lifetime. And perhaps you may be one of them. And that's why I want to kind of discuss some of the benefits of therapy, because I see a lot of people frown upon therapy. That's just societal norms. But we've come a long way in the last 5 to 10 years where mental awareness is now, up and coming for the last 5 or 10 years. And it's very, very important because that's where most things that happen in a negative manner start from or manifest from. And that is a mental illness or challenge of some sort. So, a lot of you know my story. When I was going through my divorce, it was pretty rough. There was a lot of verbal and mental abuse. And at one time, I could probably say with confidence that I felt like I hit rock bottom. I was really depressed, tired. I couldn't focus. And I was just lacking a lot of key essentials to daily living. And above all, I had no self-love. So I had no self-worth or value. And, those are all important things for us to function and live, positive, successful lives. But I could feel that I was just spiraling downhill mentally. It hit me like a ton of bricks. But I am a very proud person and very stubborn. I did not want to get any help. So I'm not one to take medications. Um, I'm not one who wanted to see a therapist because, again, I was too proud. I was too stubborn to ask for any kind of help, whether it was from family or friends, let alone a therapist, someone I didn't know, right? I didn't want to bother or burden, and that's what I felt like, but that's not how other people perceive it. If they do, you will know right away. But I felt like I was bothering or burdening my family members, friends, things of that nature. So you are not doing that if you ask family or friends for help. And again, if you do get that inclination that you are, then just leave that situation. But there are people out there that want to help you. But then all of a sudden, it hit me. I put on this mindset, I'm not going to be like this. And the only way that I was going to find any kind of clarity or, a stable mental status again was to ask for help. And, I had to have a positive mindset, but I did it. So, it's, I don't know. It's just something you have to come to the conclusion. Yes, I'm going to do this, or no, I'm not. And then if you're not, then you need to find other ways. And again, therapy is just one of many ways that can help you get out of some of these ruts of depression, anxiety, or at least assist with it. Okay. So, I was surrounding myself with a lot of negativity and, again, I was being mentally and verbally attacked. So it was just my whole environment. And I knew that I had to change that if I was going to get out of this. So I still refuse to take medications because that's just me. And I'm not saying that it's inappropriate to not take medication. I'm just saying my beliefs, I did not want them. So again, mine was a whole mindset twist. So some people need medication to fight things, others do not. So again, each person is their own individual, and what works for one may not work for another. So you need to find out what works for you. But at the end, I did end up seeking treatment with a therapist. So I researched, and then I found one. And I talked to this therapist for a little bit. And, I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. I was just talking about my feelings, but I didn't feel challenged. I didn't feel like I was getting any help with that. I was just talking. And then I had a friend who was in therapy, and they were discussing their therapy sessions with me. And I felt like I learned more from my friend and what their therapist was giving them than I did. So I switched to another. And that's another thing you want to be cognizant about. If you do decide to seek any kind of treatment with a therapist, you may not get the right one at the right time for your first time. So just keep finding, because there is one out there and they all have different styles. There's some that are just for divorce. There's some for relationships. There's some for children. There's all kinds of different ones. There's some for narcissism. There's just a bunch of different ones out there. At the end of the day, chose a male because I need someone who was straight and direct with me and didn't sugarcoat things. But you may need a softer approach. So you may look for someone who is more softer and not straightforward with you. So again, you just got to find out which one works for you. So I found one. Again, it was great, wonderful experience. I just want to kind of set the tone for you. I was a normal mom who worked a 9-to-5 job like many. I had 3 children who were active in sports. They were good at their academics. I wasn't really stressed for the most part. I was college educated. I had a close-knit group of friends and family who cared about me. I didn't cause trouble. I don't like drama. I just, took pleasure in watching my kids grow. But sometimes we come across an event in our life that causes something that we're not prepared for or we don't know how to cope with. So I'm just trying to make you aware that everyone has different issues at some point in their life. And I was just a normal person at the time, but I was going through a difficult divorce. At any given time, everything can be stripped from you. An accident, you may lose part of your family or all your family. You can be rich one moment, homeless the next. So you're just never prepared for some of those traumatic events. And that's why I chose the route I did to seek therapy, because I didn't know how to cope and I needed some ideas to get me on the right track. So that's what I did. Again, therapy it's very beneficial. It's, even for the slightest of stresses that you have, you can use it to discuss certain situations that may be stressful or not stressful, or just certain issues. It doesn't have to be something like very, very traumatic. I always have this saying that even therapists need therapists, because you think about them listening to negative things all day long, they probably need to vent too. But you think about it, is anyone really living that perfect life where there's nothing but positive vibes? They're not. And again, everyone experiences some kind of traumatic event or something that they're not prepared for. So let's kind of debunk a few of the myths about therapy. I'm sure there's many. I'm just going to cover some of the larger ones. But for starters, many people may think that, therapy is more for like serious issues, and that's why you would need a therapist. And when I say serious mental issues, maybe you need medicated or, some kind of regimen that you need to see a therapist, frequently. But that's not true at all. Because again, people use therapy not only for mental illness, but maybe learn how to communicate or cope or just support. Just need support or just to distress or even self-exploration. So it could be, something maybe even positive. You're going to a therapist and say, hey, I'm doing this. Does this sound good? Do you have any other ideas? So it's not necessarily for serious mental illnesses or challenges. Okay. The next one is some people may think that therapists are cheerleaders. And I think that's wrong to think that. They are great supporters. But the right therapist is going to be real with you, and they're going to challenge you to overcome those fears, your concerns, or whatever it is that's really bothering you that you're trying to either discover or overcome. So they're going to be a support person, but they're also going to be realistic with you too, and maybe challenge you and give you advice that you may not want to hear, but you need to hear in order to move forward. So don't think that they're always cheerleaders, because they are pretty straightforward too, because they're there to help you. All right. So another myth that you may think about therapy is that, therapy is common sense. I should know this, so I don't really need a therapist. And this was my thought. I'm like, a therapist pretty much tells you something that you probably should know. But, think about if you're going through something traumatic or everything, you're not always thinking rationally. And, your thoughts are not always focused or clear. The clarity is not there. So what you may think is common sense may actually not be, or if it is, you may actually need to hear it. And that was my case. I actually needed to hear it from someone. Even though I thought that some of this stuff was common sense, I needed to hear it, and I needed to hear it out loud and then have it applied to my situation. So don't think therapy is always common sense, because it is not. Have you ever thought that you don't need a therapist because, I have this friend who's gone through this, so I'm going to ask them, or, this family member's experienced this, or maybe they've seen it, so maybe they can help me out. Let me tell you, it is excellent that you have a support group and you have family and friends to go to. But there's a certain thing that a therapist can do that your friends and your family may not be able to help you with. A therapist is an outsider looking in. So they're just listening to all the information you have and making conclusions from that, from what you're giving them. But when you get friends and family members involved, then your friends and family members are kind of applying it and creating their own stories to maybe their own experiences. So there's some certain biases And they're very emotionally wrapped up in it because they're watching you go through something traumatic, and it hurts them too. So a therapist is going to be, their thoughts are not going to be tainted. They're just going to be listening to you and helping you get through what you're going through. Friends and family are great, again, but there are certain biases. And again, they have emotions attached to this too because they love you. So think about that when you go to your friends and families. I mean, and think about it. Sometimes when you have done some of this, it's common for our friends and family to start sharing their own issues then. And then what are you getting resolved? You're not really getting anything resolved, right? So be careful with that. And then, then there's some people who think that if you go to therapy, then you're weak. And I mean, this is super, super false. And I'm about ready to tell you why. Because if you're seeking therapy, you are trying to make yourself a better person. That's huge, either mentally or spiritually or for some other reason. And that's big. That takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of vulnerability to open up to someone you don't even know. So don't think you're weak if you do that. You are like super strong when you can do those things. And one of the hardest things is for people to do is to even acknowledge that they need help. And then to take that step to actually go to the therapist also takes courage and strength. And then again, to open up to someone and be vulnerable. Therapy is not for the weak. Trust me. If you are going to therapy, you are a super strong person and you know that you need to be there to get better for yourself. And that's huge because there's a lot of people that are in denial. Okay. So never think that it is for weak people. So, now I'm living a wonderful and happy life. Okay. Am I always positive? No. Am I always happy? No, but that is life. And that's how you experience things. And that's how you learn. But I'm like super happy. I don't have many complaints. But I still see my therapist from time to time. Is it for always negative things? No. Sometimes I just stop in and say, hey, this is what I'm doing now. What do you think? And it's a positive experience. So, if you have the right therapist and you have an open mind, you're going to learn so much about yourself, and then you're going to be really surprised. So to conclude, everyone, again, has unexpected changes in their life. We can't predict what's going to happen to us. You have events that leave you stressed or feeling overwhelmed, etc. So, think about it, have an open mind and try a therapist to help you out. Again, if it's not the first therapist that you don't like, try a couple of others. It's not for everyone. You may not even want to see a therapist. Other people have other ways of taking care of their mental health. I've learned to meditate and pray and things like that. And that really helps with my mental health and has come a long way and can decrease my visits to my therapist. So but when you do this and you talk to a therapist, again, you're going to be surprised how much you really learn about yourself. So I'm going to leave you with this one quote. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it's kind of funny, but it's kind of not. But it says, I'm in therapy to learn how to deal with people who should be in therapy. Think about that. It's funny, but there's a lot of truth to that because, again, people are in denial and don't think they need it. But anyways, I just want to say how grateful I am for all of you and the support that you give me on all the platforms, joining me here, giving me the thumbs up, watching my videos, commenting on Facebook, buying my designs. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. If you have any suggestions for anyone in regards to this topic or another topic you want to know something about, just drop it in the comments and we'll come up with something, and maybe your topic will be in the WTF forum. So anyways, I just want to thank you all for coming. I love you guys. And remember, thank me first. It's not selfish, but it is necessary. Thank you guys. Y'all have a good evening. All right. Bye.